Hello everybody, welcome to the winter wine release for MTGA Wines. I have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me that we get to go through between the latest and greatest releases that we're going to have coming your way, as well as some older vintages that we'll dive into for this shipment coming at the end of January into early February. Before I get too far into it, I want to make sure that, number one, we thank you all for the continued support. It is truly without you guys, we would not be able to make these wines and do what we do. So we're so very thankful that you guys continue to be just such amazing supporters of ours. We really truly hope that with some of the new wines that we have in the lineup, but also some of the older wines that we're re-releasing with this shipment, that you find great pleasure in enjoying them, that there's something that you keep coming back for, and continue to hit your taste buds in the right way. Now, this shipment, we're going to be processing it on January 26th. All the wines that are going to be a part of this are going to start shipping out, or at least be dropped off at our fulfillment house on January 28th, 29th, and shipping out shortly thereafter. If there are any edits that you would like to make to your shipment, whether that's switching out some of these wines, adding other releases to it, if you could please have those to us by January 25th, that would be outstanding. You can also find a little bit more of these details in the email we sent you, but that'll be kind of the general timeline that we work off of to start getting these wines out your way. Now, if you live in some of the more chilly locales in the country, we'll keep a little bit of an eye on the winter weather for you, just to make sure that these don't show up at your front door in popsicle form. We'll make sure that the weather is advantageous to make sure that we can get them out your way safely and soundly. If we do need to hold on to your shipment for any reason, if you're traveling, going to be out of town, anything of that nature, just let us know. We can certainly hold on to these wines and ship them out whenever it is most convenient for you to receive them. Now, those are kind of like the logistical details. Let's dive into the wine side of things, and I'll try not to keep you too long here, but there's a lot to go through between the 6 wines that we are getting released this winter. For those of you that are a part of our Winemaker's Choice Wine Club, or for those of you that have kind of cherry-picked a few of some of these releases, this will be kind of the main 3 that we're focusing on right up front here that we'll get started with. First and foremost, we have the all-time favorite, our single barrel Merlot, new vintage of 2023, that'll be heading your way. We have something completely new and different that we've never made before in the form of a 100% Coombsville Cabernet Sauvignon that we'll be releasing alongside that. And then last but certainly not least, the wine that needs no introduction, but we do it anyway, is our Let It Run Cabernet Franc, brilliantly featuring a Mega Man inspired label with the HBIC herself and our lovely fur baby Grover on top of the barrels there. This is why we love our winter and our January to February shipments so much, because it is really highlighting truly what are some of the best wines that we are able to create. A lot of them are these single barrel lots, very small production, but the highest quality wines that we're able to make from any vintage that we've worked with. Now, all of these are from 2023, which is arguably in the running for vintage of this decade. It was a cooler, longer growing season. It felt like Thanksgiving was going to come and go before we were actually all wrapped up with the harvest season, but luckily we finished a little bit before that. For me, it was truly a year that played into my hands as a winemaker. It was something where things happened very slowly, very methodically. It didn't feel too rushed. We didn't feel as much stress as sometimes we normally feel during these harvest seasons when we're up all night, working all day, trying to make it go around. It was very, I would almost say like not herky-jerky, but there's a kind of a nice stop-start where, some of our lighter whites and reds would come in, those would be done, and then a week later we'd move on to the medium-bodied reds, and then that would be done, and a week later we'd move on to our full-bodied reds. It was just this nice, even pace for us in 2023. And with that long, cool growing season, it really leans into the style of wine that we make, which are these a little bit more acid-driven, very refreshing and bright style of wines. I mean, granted, things like, the Cabernet Franc here are some of the biggest, boldest, and most structured wines that we make. In fact, these 3 really kind of take the cake when it comes to leaning that bigger, bolder direction. But we still want to stay true to that core. And when we have these cooler growing seasons, it allows me to do that much easier than maybe a warmer, hotter year that we might have. So for the TLDR of that, it's quite simply, it's going to be hard to beat the 2023 vintage. If you've been following MTGA for a while and a part of our club for a long time, these three wines are going to be just line it up, knock it down, some of your new favorites. If you're relatively new to MTGA, maybe joined in the last few months or year or so, this is going to be just one of the best examples of what to expect in what would be kind of a perfect year for us. It's really going to be hard to argue with whether or not this vintage is, better or worse than any other. There's some great ones that we've had in recent years, but man, 2023 is going to be one for the ages. I'm so incredibly excited to finally get these out into the world. They have been, of course, a long time coming, almost 2.5 years to be exact, to get these from grape to bottle, and we're finally here to share them with you. Now, these are kind of the main focus, of course. This is kind of what takes up the lion's share of our winter shipment, kind of the latest and greatest that we have to offer from some of our smallest bottlings. But waiting the wings, and for some of you who have opted into this, we do have our optional library release, which I'll put out to the forefront here real quick. We, every year, pick out a few older vintages to go into our Archives Wine Club. Now, this is something that not a lot of folks do anymore. Not a lot have kind of these vast libraries to work with where you have older vintages laying around that are pushing the 10, 15, maybe 8-year-old range. Like, there's just not a lot of that happening. And we wax so poetically about, how wine can get better with age. And those are certainly style of wines that we try and make, that even if you drink some of these current releases that we're, getting out into the world this month, you don't have to drink them in a hurry. You can take your time, you can let them age gracefully, or if you want to dive into them right now, you can also do that. It's nice, this nice kind of yin and yang that we have with our wine program, where the world is your oyster and you can really dive into them in any way, shape, or form. But we do love going back and revisiting some of these older vintages. And we have one in particular that I'm very, very excited for. Not that the other two are any slouch in any way, shape, or form, but the one in the middle here will be kind of the shining star, I think, of the three. Now, to get things started will be our 2017 Pinot Noir. This is something that many of you know. Our Pinot Noir is way more structured and intense than you might believe. It takes years for this thing to finally settle down. And typically when it gets to about this 8 or 9 year range, you're like, oh, okay, there it is. Like, it's finally showing its true colors. The 2016, 2015 before this were very much the same way. And the 17 over the last probably 6 or 8 months of pouring it, letting people try it, and even going back to it ourselves and being like, man, this is just in probably the best spot it's going to be in. So we're super excited to re-release our 2017 Pinot Noir for you guys. In the middle here is going to be our 2012 Merlot, 14 years old going into this year, and just kicking right along. I never thought, going back to this time frame, I think about, 2012 was the first year I actually bottled a wine that I had made. So there's a lot of history for MTGA going back to this vintage, which would have been the third year that I had ever made wine. 2010 was our first, 11 second, 2012 was the third vintage that I ever made. We have a little bit of that left, and something that has just been so exciting to see it age so gracefully into the future. It has been just a joy to watch one of my first few releases get to this point, kind of where we want an older vintage now to be, and help us really set kind of a benchmark for what to expect for MTGA down the road. Which brings me to the 2016 Napa Valley Merlot. Speaking of kind of setting the tone, 16 was a vintage that I had bottled, and shortly after bottling it, ended up leaving my day job to work for myself officially. It was one of the first vintages that I was selling, fully like self-employed. It was also one of those wines where, like, man, if we can make Merlot like this more often than not, I think we're gonna be okay. The 2016 was kind of the complete package. That and the 2013, those were really kind of the two vintages that were the high watermarks for us early on in my winemaking career. And it is something that we've very diligently held back. We haven't re-released the 16 previously. It's kind of a new old vintage, if you will, to get back out in the world. But man, it is in just a fantastic spot. Compared to its kind of older brother here, it's going to have a little bit more richness, a little more roundness, just with the extra 4 years of youth that it contains. But man, it is just all of these in just such an amazing spot to share with you guys. So all said and done, And I feel like I repeat myself so much as I go through these vintages because there's a lot of things in the memory banks that kind of flow through it as I'm talking about all these wines. You know, whether it's some of the older guys in the archives that you've opted into, or if you're diving into some of these smaller releases, this is truly kind of what MTGA is all about. Kind of these, you know, ultra small lot, you know, craft wines that we have down here between the single barrel Merlot, the Cabernet Franc, and this Coombsville Cabernet has just been an absolute joy to work with. And this guy in particular, I hope that you tune into the tasting note video that we posted with this. There's a kind of a fun, interesting, what was kind of the stressful story that we did have coming from 2023 that really centered around this wine in particular in our Cabernet Sauvignon program. So do check out our tasting notes playlist here on YouTube, and you'll find a little bit more inside baseball kind of knowledge on all of these wines. But the same is true of some of these older vintages. You know, when you look back at a winemaking career and you see and you get to taste, you know, what you did a decade or more ago, it just brings you back to that time. Like, where were you? You know, thinking of 2012, going into my third vintage, living back here in Napa, you know, for 4 years, almost 4 years at this point, and really kind of at the beginning of what was going to be my wine career. 2017, something where I was kind of in the midst of figuring out what was next. You know, I had recently switched jobs. I was trying to kind of figure out the next way forward and where I wanted to be in the industry, whether that was production or marketing or hospitality. This is a wine where and even the 2016, kind of both of these go hand in hand, where I was kind of all over the place with MTGA kind of in the background, very much as kind of this side hustle at that time before I was able to leave my day job and give this a full go. So there's a lot of very potent memories that are attached to some of these older vintages as well. So whether you're taking some of these current releases or in our archives program, I hope you get to kick back, relax, and enjoy some of these wines this winter. Please, again, be sure to check out the shipment details in the email. Check out the tasting notes and videos that we've posted on our YouTube channel and elsewhere to find out a little bit more information about these wines, what they're all about, kind of what makes them tick, and yeah, all the little dirty details of what it took to get these wines from grape to bottle when it was all said and done. Just to echo it one more time here in the cave, thank you all so much for such amazing support over the years. It's pretty crazy to believe that we're going to be entering our 17th harvest this year, and that looking back all the way to something like our 2012 or even 2023, some of our more current releases, that we're able to do what we do, and that's very much because of you guys. So thank you so much. Again, I hope you enjoy the wines. Have an amazing day, week, month, whatever the case may be. Hopefully we'll see you out here in the cave, or we'll catch you on the road during one of our events around the country this year. Cheers.